Hello, my name is Ben.
And my name's Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video where today we're going to take you through our teams ahead of game week 8. Let's get right into it.
So starting up in my team, last week wasn't the best week. Cole will sort of save me from a really big red arrow. Still got quite a chunky one though, from about 140k down to 340k. So not the best week, but you know that things happen. Haaland captaincy blank was not ideal, especially when quite a few in the end ended up captaining Morris. So we're going into the next week. Obviously, there's been so many injuries. You do pretty well to not have at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 of your players, if not more, injured or suspended this week. So that's why we're going to be talking through this team selection in a little bit more detail. So Onana in goal, Brentford at home. Yeah, not so sure on him at the moment. I think United defensively are just generally really poor. They're missing some really key players in that defense at the moment, and you can just tell in the fixtures that have and the results that they've picked up in recent weeks. So yeah, Brentford at home. Brentford are really good away against the top 6, typical top 6 anyway. So not looking forward really to that. I don't think I expect too much from United at the moment, especially defensively in their assets. Into the defence then. So we've got Kabore, who reluctantly I'm playing this week. Tottenham at home is not by far not the best fixture at all. He's literally there because he plays at the moment, and I don't really want to take a -4 on a defender. I feel like Kabore will probably come away with maybe a point if I'm lucky in that game. So that's why he's there. I've obviously got a Doji Luton away. I'd be annoyed if Spurs concede to Luton. Doji's been really good going forward as well. Obviously, there's a lot of debate between him and Pedro Porro, but for me, I've had the Doji since the start, so I've gained a lot of value in him. So he will be there in my team. Levi Cotterill, as I mentioned at the top of the video, really good performance Monday night. 12-pointer, absolute saviour. Burnley away, decent fixture for Chelsea, and Chelsea one of the best defensive sides in the league so far this season. It's just the offense that's been really lacking them in terms of the points in the Premier League. So quite happy with him. Been really happy since I brought him in, actually. And he's risen in price this week as well. Finally, on a Stupinan, he's been ruled out by De Zerbi. Not sure, potentially the length could be up to a month, potentially. Obviously, we have an international break in that, so that's good news for Brighton. There is a case that you could look towards maybe benching him if you can afford to, but because there is just so many injuries at the minute, it's not looking too good. So he will be my transfer out this week. The main man that I'm looking at the moment is Matty Cash, just because of Aston Villa's fixtures. Really good. 5 green fixtures over the next 5. So yeah, he'll be coming straight in, I think, for a stupid. And at the moment, obviously, we're recording this as the Europa League and Conference League is underway. So if anything happens to Matty Cash, he's obviously not coming into my team. What's your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, without a wild card, this is probably as good as you're going to get from a defense to begin with. Obviously, with the injuries that you got, it's probably more frustrating than not to have to play Kabore in that team. Obviously, if he does keep a clean sheet, then that's a miracle. But with the way Spurs have been playing, I don't think that'll happen. And the same really for United. Like, I'm just as confident on them getting a clean sheet as I'm Luton this week. Brentford at home, on the face of it, seems like a decent fixture, but yeah, you know, that's Onana for you. But the Doji and Colwell, yeah, no problems with that at all, and Matty Cash in there as well, potentially should be absolutely fine to go as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on into the midfield, we're playing a 4-4-2 this week. We've got Bruno Fernandes, Brentford at home. United going forward are creating quite a lot of chances, especially through this man as well. So I'm pretty happy having him at the moment, especially if Bukayo Saka is out for the weekend. We don't know that yet right now, but that is one thing that I think sure Ben will touch on in his team. Raheem Sterling, obviously he didn't play on Monday night. He came on as a sub. Pochettino said that he had like a virus, so he hadn't been training too much. I'd probably expect him to come back into the side for Burnley away. Obviously, that's definitely not a guarantee there, so there's potential minutes risk with him. But I feel like when he has played for Chelsea so far this season, he has been very good. And Burnley away, again, is quite a nice fixture. Probably the last time, hopefully, that I'll have Sterling in my team this season. Well, at the minute anyway, he might come back into form. Son, Luton away, very good fixture. I think he's got the highest probability of scoring a goal this week out of anyone. So yeah, really happy to own him. He's on the vice at the moment with Salah on the captaincy. that is not final right now. I can assure you of that. I'm not too sure. It'll be between these two guys. It's just who I pick. I just feel like Salah, Brighton away. Brighton are conceding a lot of goals. They're yet to keep a clean sheet so far this season. Not saying that Luton are a good defence either, but I feel like Luton with a low block is going to be a lot more difficult for Son to haul than maybe Salah to haul against Brighton at the moment. I need to think about it a little bit more, but that's my current thought process behind captaincy. I think both of them should hopefully be under 100% effective ownership come the deadline. So hopefully I'll get benefits from both of them anyway. And then to finish off the team, the top two, Haaland and Alvarez. Not looking to captain in this game just because I really can't say which way it's going to go, to be honest. I think it's going to be a really tough game. We're not sure what Arsenal's team's going to look like with all the injuries that they've got at the moment as well. But yeah, Julian Alvarez will definitely stay on my team. I think he's one of the best value for money picks in the game at the moment. He's just one of the most crucial players in that Manchester City team at the moment. He's just so important. If you watch the Leipzig game, you'd have known that as well. So happy with the front two at the moment. And then, yeah, so Ben, what do you think about the midfield and attack?
Yeah, like it looks a lot more decent than the defense, to say the least. Obviously, you've got Mo Salah in there on the captaincy. Little bit outside pick, but considering sort of Haaland's gone nearly 400 minutes without a goal, I can see why you may be inclined to take that decision. Yeah, there's potentially a couple of fires in there, Sterling and Bruno Fernandes, but a lot of these managers are going to have similar problems, and it's just sort of good that you've sort of at least potentially got the ability to bring out a full 11 for this game week.
Yeah, and then touching on the bench as well, Areola, Newcastle at home. I'll probably take Onana against Brentford just because I think Newcastle are on fire at the moment, to be honest, going forward. Obviously, Mubama's first on the bench. Obviously, Antonio's picked up a knock, potentially, so it could rule him out of game week 8. So I might be getting potential minutes off the bench there if we're really, really chancing it. Obviously, Botman has been ruled out of game week 8. Potentially could return after the international break, game week 9, game week 10. We're not too sure yet. And then Anthony Gordon, who's suspended for this week. I knew that before bringing him in last week. Took the risk. He got that yellow. This is one of those weeks where I could really use Anthony Gordon at the moment, Ben. What's your thoughts on Newcastle? Obviously, beat PSG this week. Are you looking towards any of their assets?
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at it, and I'd be tempted to have at least one of the defenders in there at a minimum. Their fixture run is still decent. They maybe have their best two fixtures behind them, but they still got very decent fixtures going forward. And yeah, like I said, it was more unlucky than anything with the Botman injury. And then Gordon, you knew what you're sort of playing yourself in for. So I can't sort of say too much on the bad luck side of things with that one. But yeah, it's looking a little bit light on the bench this week. But a lot of managers are going to have a lighter bench than usual. So I don't see too much of an issue with that this week. Just got hope for at least not like a couple of benchings like last week. Okay, so moving on to my team. I'm going to say it's not as strong as Josh's team this week. It's pretty injury hit. We'll start off in goal again. Onana, I'm not convinced by. It's either him or Turner, and I just don't think either are going to keep a clean sheet. So I'm going for who's going to see potentially more shots and who's going to get more saves. It could be I could have Turner on keeper by the deadline, but for now I've gone Onana. In the defence, I've got the disappointing Ruben Diaz, who hasn't kept many clean sheets since I've brought him in. We've got Fabian Schär, who scored a worldie in midweek. I'm more than happy to start him this week because, to be quite frank, I don't think many of my defence is going to get too many points. And then Estepinian, again, like Josh, I think I'm going to transfer him out. It's probably going to be for Pedro Porro. That's the likely move I'm going to make. I've got one free transfer as it stands. A lot of this is going to be reliant on injury news. So Josh, that is defense. What are your first initial thoughts?
Yeah, Ruben Diaz really, really annoying. City sort of falling into that form that we've spoken about in the last couple of weeks, sort of just conceding the odd goal. No one expected them to lose to Wolves at the weekend, that's for sure. Fabian Schär, really good pick. Could be a nice differential, especially with his attacking threat. It's a little bit better than Sven Botman and Dan Burn. So yeah, hopefully maybe an attack and return or two for him in the coming weeks. And then yeah, Pedro Porro, as I mentioned with Adoji, I think there's a lot of cases going around for Porro. He's got better underlying data than Adoji at the moment. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see if those wing backs potentially return against Luton. It's one of those games where you'll see them having high amounts of possession and the wing backs getting very far forward. So yes, could be a good pick, that Pedro Porro.
Okay, so moving on into my midfield, and as you can see, one more injury hit player. We've got Bukayo Saka, potentially with an injury. Now, I'm waiting on the deadline to see what I'm going to do with him. If we get some news that he's going to be out injured for the City game, I'll probably take a hit, a -4, to bring him out and bring in Son. If we get news that he's potentially even on the bench, I may even be tempted to start him and sort of take a hit elsewhere and maybe bench one of my other sort of like a Ruben Diaz or something like that. So there's a couple of options here, but Bukayo Saka for now is in the team. Could be Son by the deadline, could still be him and maybe a move elsewhere. We've got Bruno Fernandes and Rashford in there as the Man United double up again. I'm not too confident on their returns. They've looked decent in parts, but it's been by no means consistent from Manchester United this year. Maddison has looked very decent, and against a low block against Luton, I think he could do really, really well. And then Mitoma, again, Liverpool is a pretty open team defensively, so I don't mind starting him this week at all. I'm going to have to sort of ride with these Brighton assets as I have done so far this season. And then, of course, Alvarez and Haaland up top, no changes there. Josh, thoughts on the midfield and the attack for my team?
Yeah, I really like Maddison. I think this sort of fixture suits Maddison a lot more than Son in terms of getting a high potential of returns, just because, like you said, the low block defense, we haven't really seen Son score many like hauls like he does against maybe like the Arsenal that we saw a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, really good fixture for him. Potentially even captainable. I wouldn't even be mad if you were captaining him, thinking of him over Haaland potentially. Obviously, Haaland's gone a long time without a goal, and I think just City in general maybe not creating as many chances for him. I know he's missed a lot of chances in games gone by, but it's interesting with Haaland at the moment. And then, yeah, Bukayo Saka is really annoying. Obviously, I took him out last week with the injury news. Sort of got lucky in the way with Son returning just as much as him against Bournemouth. But it just seems like a persistent injury with Saka. I will say one thing, though. He has been called up to the England squad, so he's going to be assessed there. But it seems like it shouldn't be too bad if he's getting called up for the international duty a week later.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm going to have to consider is the international duty. I think if he is called up, it's more likely than not, I might just keep him because we could very well see him in the squad. It's a very big game for Arsenal this weekend. And then, of course, on the bench, we've got Potman, Baldock, both out injured. And then Mubama, as Josh alliterated to, he could get minutes. But, you know, we're definitely sort of leaning on the fact that he probably won't rather than he will with that. So, yeah, one free transfer, about $1 million in the bank. It's a tough situation for me at the moment. Josh, is a hit viable in this situation? I know a couple of people have been telling me a wild card is potentially sensible in this situation, but I'm just sort of holding firm on that. I made my decision sort of last weekend that I wasn't going to do it this week. Is that potentially the right decision to go with, or is that a bit of a risk?
I think it is, to be fair. I know you haven't got maybe the go-to assets in terms of maybe like Salah and Son at the moment, but I don't think they're a necessity right this game week. I think, like you say, Maddison's like probably a better pick than Son just for this week in 1 week. And like you say, with like Botman, Saka, potentially even Baldock, these guys are only going to be missing for this game week potentially, and will be back soon enough after the international break. The international break comes at a good time for all these injuries because it gives players an extra week's rest without you having to sort of manage those dilemmas. I will say one thing though. I think Turner against Palace is probably a better pick than Onana this week, just because of how Palace are without Eze now. They're without Edwards, without Elise. They've got no attacking players fit at the moment. Anyway, the first choice attackers anyway. So I would definitely be leaning towards a Matt Turner over Onana at the moment. Okay, so that wraps up our Game Week 8 team selection videos. Absolutely decimated by injuries and suspensions and God knows what else. So let us know if you're the same. Are you going to be hitting the wild card this week? And if so, let us know what your draft is looking like down in the comments.
And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the FPL Graduates. And as always, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.